We're here to talk to you guys about email retargeting, some of the things that have changed for retargeting. We've sort of broken ground with past 2 years of being the leading provider of retargeting strategies, the builder of those models for everyone. And it's become such a great addition to any marketing or advertising platform, especially when it comes to digital, that we started filtering some of the new possibilities. I mean, what's next? Is email retargeting the next thing? I don't know, but I really like it. It's so cutting edge. So I want to dive right in. I'm not going to waste anybody's time here. So a little bit about us. We are a digital advertising agency that serves West Georgia and East Alabama markets. We go up to above Atlanta to Augusta to a little bit of Birmingham. Of course, we have clients across the United States, Boston, LA, a couple of really cool places, Tampa, around the Orlando area. So if you want to post any tweets or Instagram pictures, take a picture of the webinar and go hashtags stand and stretch, hashtag sit and learn, and there's our stand and stretch is our name. Thank you if we do that. So I'd like to think of stand and stretch as the agency that helps people converge with things. So we do things that basically aren't normally known by most people. It is the ability for us to communicate ideas, marketing strategies, and advertising strategies to people using all kinds of things like websites, emails, any type of commercial-based software, CRM, things like that. We're always interfacing with things that make interaction happen with humans. So it's one of the cool things that I like. And I notice I see a poll marker here. So if you don't mind to take one of the first polls that we have. So just a quick launching of the poll. You should see on your screen, have you ever done any digital advertising? So you have an opportunity here to click yes, no, or I don't know. Looks like we've got a lot of people who have been a part of this, so it's great. And I'm going to close the poll out. Thank you very much, and share it with you guys. So what you should be seeing now is that we have everybody's done some digital advertising, which is fantastic because I don't have to talk about traditional. I'll have to talk about some of those things that I might have to get people up to speed with. So great, thank you. That is a poll. We have two more, so please help out when you can. Thank you. So moving right into our webinar series. This is a sit and learn webinar series. This is actually our 14th webinar series, so I'm very proud to bringing this back this year, and hopefully we're going to be doing this once a month or every 2 weeks or so. So I'm going to give a brief reintroduction to retargeting. I felt that the reintroduction was necessary. Talk a little bit about stats, what's going on with email, with retargeting, with email retargeting. Then I want to talk about email retargeting and what it does. I mean, if you thought that retargeting was creepy, you're going to really think email retargeting is a little, not only like creepy, but hey, what are you doing with all my data kind of stuff, creepy. Where's my privacy policy at kind of deal. So then we'll talk about details on some of the services that are allowed in email retargeting, and then show you a couple of examples. So I'm really pumped. Let's get started. So I really like to focus on perspectives when I talk about our webinar series. We bring up ideas like display advertising, paid search, search engine optimization, the things that we do really well. We start looking at user experience. So this is going to be a quick briefing of retargeting on user experience. And most of us, if you've had a conversation with me, you have a conversation, and I always bring up the red shoes. Like the red shoe equation means so much to me because this is kind of where I first met retargeting. And if you don't know, this is my explanation. You start thinking about red shoes. You need some new running shoes. It could be anything, but I picked the red running shoes because it very, very honestly, it just sticks out to me. And you go to a website like Zappos, and you go, man, look at this. This is my shoe. This is it. And then you go, holy smokes, $135. Man, I don't need those shoes that bad. Most of the market research around retargeting says that it's a great tool for window shoppers. I mean, we know right now that only 96 to 97% of people actually leave the website and don't make a decision today. And we call that a non-actionable state. It's still something that's part of our marketing plan, a part of our marketing process. But the idea is we look forward to having conversion rates of people visiting our website between 1 to 3%. Now that means out of 100 people, only 1 to 2 to 3 people are spending the 135 getting it done and moving on. So if your website has 100 people visiting a month, you can estimate that you're going to have 1 or 3 customers a month. In this case, retargeting is the distance between you and the other 98 to 97% of those people. The people who saw this red shoe, the people who wanted the red shoe, but they didn't buy the red shoe. Needless to say, this happens to everybody. I window shop all the time. But for this live example, I actually did this right before the webinar just to have a real true example. So I didn't buy the shoe. I go back to my normal life, and then lo and behold, like magic, poof, there's my red shoes. And they're not only here, but they are now like following me everywhere. And everybody knows this feeling. When you revolve this into small business, it helps increase branding, it helps create the top of mind awareness. The key thing is that now I am looking at this red shoe everywhere I go. And that's what we talked about with retargeting and the service that we've been providing for almost 3 years. So the key thing is that what's going on here? This is kind of how it feels. You know, we've been targeted. We have this thing that's following us around now that is providing marketing, giving us reminders, all the great things that we talk about. You know, this tool that we've been using has helped our marketing efforts in the sense of when you do paid search and you buy paid advertising and you do display advertising, you're dumping a lot of people into your site. You're bringing them to the storefront. Another way to feel like this is if they were actually, instead of visiting your website, they were visiting your storefront. They were coming in the front of the door and they were inside the building. We even know then that there is another retail figure that says if they come into your store, they're likely to buy something. But what if they don't? They come in, they try on the shoes, and they go home. They're like, that just wasn't my shoe. Well, the key thing is that imagine the real world example where they walk out of the store and suddenly all the billboards are showing red shoes. They pick up a magazine, and the ads in the magazine are there's a red shoe there, red shoe here. You pick up your cell phone, there's a freaking red shoe ad on it. So these are real things, and this is how the consumer starts to feel in this tone. I think the greatest part is the consumer, as you'll find with my stats coming up, the consumer likes this approach, but do they feel comfortable with giving it away? You know what I mean? Does anybody feel creeped out about this? I mean, raise your hand if you think that this is like super creepy, and no, don't raise your hand if you think it's super cool. Yeah, I see some people raising their hands. I'm on the creepy side. I'm like on the fence. It's cool, yet it's also a little creepy. And of course, if any time that you guys hear my voice fading out or something's wrong with the recording, please, I'm sorry, with the webinar, please let me know in either the chat or ask me a question. And while you're moving forward, you should see the question box on the side there, the dash panel. And for the new people who I noticed have been showing up, there's also a raise your hand button on that interface, so it's pretty cool. If you're interacting with us, you will have a moment to do that and some polls coming up. So thanks for the people joining us and also being super duper late. So I do apologize about that. So that's how I feel a little bit. Now, I stole this from a great retargeting company. They do a lot of research, Retargeter. We don't use them, but they had this cool graphic, so I had to give them the credit for it. This is what it feels like for the consumer. For most of us who understand marketing and advertising, retargeting presents itself as a different way to think about it because it's kind of thought of as a reminder strategy instead of a targeted strategy. You start adding that to just about everything that happens to after the consumer leaves. So when you're in marketing and advertising, you're trying to get attention, right? You're trying to say, hey, over here, look at me. And then once they get to your website, the whole remarketing aspect of advertising could be anything from retargeting, and we'll talk about email retargeting, we'll talk about behavioral retargeting. The key thing is that we now have an extension of the marketing life cycle for you guys, for the potential business owners trying to reach out and get things, get new customers. So I see I have another poll here. So while you're hanging out, I got one more coming through here, and it is: have you noticed a company more often using this strategy? And I think for that, if you would please take the poll. There's three options. I see companies I visit more often. I can recall a company more frequently. I don't spend much time online, so I had to give that out there for people who are there also. So if you have a moment, please select the poll. Looks like half of us have done so. I'm going to move on, so I want to quickly move through. So the poll says that, yeah, we've basically noticed that companies I visit, I see way more often. There's a stat that I don't know if I have in this presentation. It basically says only one in five advertising plans or marketing plans have included retargeting into their marketing budget. The sadness about that is sometimes people just don't know what they don't know. But on the other side of it, it says that maybe what they're doing is a little bit different focus, a little bit little aspect of it. But smarter companies, because of the low cost of retargeting, are putting it into their mix and not really breaking the bank. So that's something to be thinking about when you're going through this whole process. So cool. Let's get into start talking about a little bit of numbers a little bit. So retargeting works best in conjunction with other strategies, and this is true. I haven't had someone be ultimately 100% successful. There's some. I'll say this, and I'll come back and I'll try to re-say it. But I haven't seen anybody that's been super successful with just retargeting alone. And now that I've said that, when you come back to it, the only people who can be successful with retargeting alone, the people who we've worked with, are people who are consistently have traffic every day on their website without buying it, without doing content stuff, without doing blogging, email marketing. We have a client in North Georgia who right now is getting 30,000 visits on their website, and we don't have to pay $1. It just happens to be their 3 months of the year. They deal in luxury cabin rentals in the North Georgia, the beautiful Smoky Mountains, and they are part of, when it gets to February, they're going to be like, okay, let's switch over our strategy to paid search, and we're like, absolutely. Because people aren't, just depending on where your trends and the periods of your business where you're highly active. So one of the things, the big number on the side, this is from ComScore, one of the greatest, out there with Forrester, and HubSpot's kind of making its way in there with data. 1,046% increased brand awareness and brand identity recall. When we do retargeting for a year to 2 years, we have better impressions over better targeted audiences than any other medium. So I say that only knowing because we've grown brands in less than a year with retargeting strategies. And that is something that has a lot of potential. And because it's such an early stage in the business, it's a great place to start putting your money. You're a larger brand, you've already established, you're looking for more potential customers. Retargeting is a magnifying glass to things that already exist. So this does create that sticky awareness. If you can imagine your company, your logo, your services following people around for a period of time. So that's talking about retargeting structurally. What I'm going to do in a moment is I'm going to flip out the idea of regular retargeting with getting into people's email inboxes. And that is the heart of this conversation. So stats. I mentioned I love numbers. Retargeting is full of them, and they're great. So I'm going to walk through here. So 26%. This is the percentage of users who return or complete the checkout process. We're talking about behavioral retargeting and workflow retargeting in the sense that now most of the softwares like AdRoll and Customer IO, what's another one I was just thinking about, they actually now are tracking every opportunity. And the company that we're working with for email retargeting is doing this specifically to the point of what did they click on, what did they type in. We're connecting these people to all of their actions. So if you're in e-commerce website, which is fantastic, you can have an opportunity for you to, how far did they get in the checkout process? You know, did they make it through to complete the order? And if they didn't, our software can actually tell you that, and we can segment and create an entire campaign of automation beyond that to get them to complete that order. And you've seen this. You've been to Amazon.com, you fill up the cart, and he goes, do, 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 do. I don't check out. An abandoned shopping cart, right? It's very common for e-commerce. Well, now we have the application to send them not only an email with email retargeting, but an email that says exactly what they were looking for. And hey, why don't you use this coupon code attached to that campaign that says if you come back, we're going to give you 15% off. So we're increasing the likelihood of the checkout process. And if I told you we can get 26% more people to close the deal if we were automating a process, you know, would you do that? So that's something to think about. So percentage of website visitors who are retargeted with display ads are more likely to convert. So 7 out of 10 people who are seeing those red shoes are more likely to convert than people who aren't seeing those red shoes. So what does that tell you? If you have a service, if somebody needs what you have to offer, you might be in restoration services, you might be in the makeup category, you might be in local consulting, you might be a CPA. You know, if somebody visits your website and they're looking for something, we already know that a large percentage of them aren't going to do anything. But if that ad follows them around, I mean, even if it's an attorney, which we've done great work with retargeting for attorneys, you know, there is an opportunity to say, hey, we are the best. Don't forget that one thing that you need from us, that we have, that value proposition, you know, the branding techniques. One of the examples, I don't know if I give it later on, so I'll just go ahead and give it really quickly. We worked with a local hamburger brand. I mean, it was the Fuddruckers people. They were really great, sticking to their branding guidelines. We created an amazing campaign. One of the things that we used retargeting for wasn't for, you know, getting the ideas back to them so they would buy a burger, but it was because we had secondary objectives in the marketing plan. We looked at, hey, you guys are a great burger joint. You make great burgers. You're known for burgers. But what aren't you known for? Like, what can we do that you're not known for that we build into this entire a budget, and we look at the future and go, hey, you've got good burgers. We got it. Everybody knows it. What else do you have? So we used a retargeting campaign to say, hey, you know what? We also do great hot dogs. And did you know that on Tuesday nights, our kids eat free? And so those specialty secondary items became more likely to convert. We saw the increase of people buying hot dogs. We saw an influx of people who are coming in and bringing their families in on Tuesday night. And the greatest thing about this, we always try to find that point of reference when we're having success for our clients. We always ask the client, how's the, you know, what is the sales report saying? What's your feeling on all of this? And luckily enough, Fuddruckers is one of those places that if it's your first time there, you don't really understand that there is a game you play. You go sit down with your drink, you come up and you pick up your tray of food, and then you go back down and you sit down. That happens to you when you walk in. But if you're a first-time visitor, you don't know what to do with that tray. I mean, you look around for the tray bins, right? And you're like, wait a minute, I'm not a Neanderthal. I'm not leaving my trash on the table for somebody to come by and pick it up. I can take care of my own trash. So the way that we found out we were having success was because they would come to us and say, almost everybody who's coming into the store during this period, a larger percentage, which I would like to think are conversions for us, are bringing their trays back up front, which was the sheer sign of a new customer. So think about stuff like that when you're in your marketing plan. How can you identify a first-time person and say, wow, I'm expanding my customer base, or I'm just increasing sales. So with the current base. So let's move on. If that story comes up later, I'll just skip right over it. Okay, so retargeting can lead to 147% high conversion rate over time in certain industries. So I put this in here because this is for my retail people. Where are you at, my retail people, right? Retargeting is a fundamental need in any kind of e-commerce or retail because you got to get that brand. You got to these fashions, these trends, these economic times, recessions, growth periods. All of them are so fluctuating that retargeting is a necessity. Now, if you're in the service industry, you know, if you're in a reactive service, you're in a proactive service, you're in, you know, a management service, this is also very important. We're looking at certain industries here having a lot higher, and that is a focus on retail and e-commerce style companies. So good stats there. So let's talk about what we came here to talk about, right? I'm already deploying Stan and Stretch's email retargeting campaign. I'm also trying to tell you that we have many people who are interested in the service, but I'm still waiting to qualify it so that I can sell it to people. It is very interesting. It's very creepy. I like the technology, but at the end of the day, does it work for you? And is it something that possibly can help you strengthen the communication between you and your customer over time? So let's dive right in. So same thing that happens in retargeting. So I kind of primed you really well. I think that we talked about retargeting and the red shoes. We got it. Okay, so if somebody visits my website, Lucas, they get red shoes all over the place. They get them on weather.com. They get them on social media. They're going to be looking at red shoes. Yes, cool. So throw email into this. So are you telling me, Lucas, that if somebody visits my website, they're going to get an email from us? Yes, technically yes. But at the end of the day, after talking to our retargeting partner in person on phone, so I was like, yo, you just got to explain this to me because it's highly technical. How am I going to convince my clients that this is not the most expensive, complicated service in the world? And they told me very clearly. Now we put the cookie on the website, which is to the visitor when they land on the website, and from that moment they start lifting emails. So this is kind of like shoplifting. If your consumer types in an email but doesn't submit a form, right? Like somebody fills out like an autofill and there's their email. If their email gets input to a form, they have a script, they have a software that literally rips it right out of the site and stores it over into what they call the list. And that list from that point on becomes a part of what email is it going to see. So let's dig a little deeper here. So again, if somebody's on your website and they type in an email address, our software is snooping it and putting it into a list. Very creepy, right? Just raise your hand. Is that creepy or is that creepy? Creepy, right? Nobody? Raise your hand. Oh, okay, it goes one. So, trying to keep you guys awake. I know we're late. I know you're eating your lunch. Hang out with me. I'm going to make it work. So what happens after that? So then by associating this cookie with a unique email, we're able to match any subscriptions that we currently have. Like we could do MailChimp, Constant Contact. We can look at email automation like drip marketing campaigns, CRM emails like, oh, hey, you visited our website 3 days ago. Tell us about your experience. You can do surveys, which is great. Get some feedback on retargeted using retargeting strategy around survey and review giving. It's awesome. You can also do retail and marketing new products, things like that. And you can also do other services. So we find a way to prompt them with that email in their inbox, and we give them an opportunity. And that opportunity has to be very easy, quick call to action. We're not talking about a huge email newsletter that has a click to the video of your vlog and all this stuff, or multiple galleries. We're talking about, I got to get you. I had you, you left, I got to get you again. So that's part of what's happening at this point. So I really love the term intent based. I mean, it kind of goes with the whole purposeful job, purposeful life movement over the past decade, where everybody's like, I want to be purposeful, about everything I do in my life. Well, I want marketing and advertising to be purposeful, and intent based email marketing, intent based advertising is when we're tailoring things like retargeting for people who have shown interest in different types of things. So if somebody visits a service website and they're looking at service A, we're going to make an email so that when people find their way back to their normal world with their emails, so we don't have to worry about the web, we don't have to worry about social media. We're putting this back into their inbox, which is still a little creepy. The idea is that we're able to take information that's segmented, graphics, content, very specific stuff, and deliver that to their email inbox. Most of the time, Gmail, Outlook, things like that. So it's pretty cool. So a couple of examples. These are some that are basically with discount actions provided. So if you think about it, you go visit Birchbox, you're like, man, I want, because I had Birchbox for men. It was really cool to kind of play around. I mean, it introduced me to beard oil. I mean, it changed a lot of things. It was cool. I loved the subscription-based business also. At the end of the day, a lot of people show up at Birchbox and go, I don't want to pay the money for it. That's still, I mean, I can just go to Walmart and shop the shelves and spend less getting, one or two items, right? So Birchbox says, I got your information. I'm going to send you an email. I don't know anything about you. You filled out my little form, you filled out the newsletter form. You interact with my website. So I know you went to my website and I know I have your email address. So guess what? Birchbox goes, boom, I just sent you an email. And guess, this is the best part. It's like, here you go. Come back and I'm going to give you 20% off your next purchase. So if you know, Birchbox has the sample box. So they send everybody a monthly box of samples. But those samples really turn into sales on Birchbox's main website. So what they're saying is, hey, if you come back and get your subscription back in line, we're going to give you 20% off of your next purchase. So, retargeting at work. This is also another one over here for the Lucky brand, back to incentivizing your experience. Thank you for coming. Thank you for signing up. Thank you for coming to our store. We're going to present you with this information. We want you back to our store. I got another one. That was a general example. Here are some more with product examples. So the other one was more general. We probably have been seeing those for some time, right? The ones I just showed you a moment ago. You've seen those before. You're like, yeah, Lucas, I get those all the time. I've been getting them for a long time. Okay, well, this is where we start getting into the actual what it means to have a product or service be listed. So here we go. There's a red shoe. I just happened to find a red women's pump here. Just like whatever. And then on the right side, you'll see the Zulily. We're also talking about the Polo Association. I'm sorry, it's probably like Associated Polo, U.S. Polo Associated or Association. I have no idea what that is. So it's blue tonic. And what's really I'm pulling out of these is that these are experiences that people are having from J. Crew and Zulily with email retargeting because they know that you visited the website and you went and looked at the red pump and I got your email. So what's up? I'm going to give you 30% off if you come back, get it today. And look at that quick note there. It says ends today. Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I got to stop what I'm doing so I can get 30% off those Valentinas, right? I got to get the 30% off. How cool is that? Wouldn't you rather have a sale, cut into your margin a little bit, or take care of that, the shipping? There's multiple ways you can roll the strategy together. If you look at the other side, again, back to time's running out. Hurry up, hurry up. Don't miss this. Don't miss this. We know you wanted it. A lot of stuff going on in that. So I'm going to have one more poll here, and then we're going to be closing up a little bit. I've kind of been running really, really, really fast. So the poll is, do you receive email with details specific to products and services? So if you don't mind, select yes, no, or I don't know. Most of us get a lot of emails, so my gut says that we're going to find ourselves, somebody's not going to have it, but I'm looking at a lot of people having it. So cool. Again, very uh, very honest audience. Yes, everybody is seeing the emails that have these details. I mean, I get a ton of emails from everything, and I'm always seeing this. So thank you guys. I appreciate that. So with the examples, a little bit of the details. Um, People are always like, "Okay, Lucas, it sounds cool, man. Let's do it. Let's get it. Let's get it in our strategy. Let's find some budget. Let's move some things around." Um, but it's really about some very focused ideology. We are getting to the point where preferred advertising is beating out the ad blocking patterns of what we normally see. So if you can imagine a world where, on the front of the Advertise Age magazine, there was a future picture drawn. It says it was a big highway, and out the highway, it said to the left, uh, catered advertising, behavioral advertising, digital advertising. And on the right, it said no ads, ad blockers, ad stoppers. Anytime you have a movement of people who are like, man, ads, they ruin my web experience. You're going to have people who produce these ad blockers and things like that. And once they do, they start challenging people to get to them, even though they've got ad blockers. So imagine if you have ad blockers, and somebody comes to your website, and they're looking for the red running shoes. They type in their email. They don't complete their order. We can still get to them with email retargeting. We're not trying to show them an ad placement like normal retargeting. We are now having a way to get around some of the industry changes in digital advertising and precisely get to that person back with real time and dynamically personalized information. That's a big deal. I mean, when you think about, if you had a customer who you knew wanted something, wouldn't you want to send them an email right now and let them know that you had it and that you can give them 10% off if they bought it from you right now? Precision. Performance is a big deal. Man, I'm talking about early adopters seeing a huge email open rate. And if you've seen average open rates for all industries, and if you have Constant Contact or MailChimp, they do a really great job at like showing how well you're doing against everybody else. And that helps you supercharge what you're doing. Like, am I above average for my industry? Am I below average? Or what if I'm below average? What do I have to do? So we're looking at this increasing open rates of 50%. I have seen 50% open rates. Now, an industry average would be 20 to 22%. So we're doubling that with this. And if you talk about how emails are opened and the ideology behind email openings, if you have a corporate email account, there's a stat that you're opening 98% of those emails, which means they're work related, they're important to you. Your boss is going to come after you if you don't read and reply to the email. So corporate emails open at 98%. There's another medium that has a really high open rate, and that is SMS texting. So texting, everybody reads a text, but not everybody replies to a text. So you think about that one for a second. So you're seeing here a double increase of open rates for early adopters in email retargeting. So people who see an email, they recognize they're going to open it. Oh man, 20% off if I come back to the store, like a subject lines that say that. And then also you're looking at almost 3 times the click-through rates. Some people will go back and forth with me on this. A lot of research has been out there for many, many years about email marketing. I'm a email marketing probe, and I've worked with big accounts, 250,000 lists, email lists. And the big thing here is that 10% click-through rates, CTRs, is 3 times any of some of the best averages we had during trend periods. So this is great. They're seeing it, they're opening it more often, and they're clicking more often. It's pretty good. 1 out of 10 people are going to come back to your website. I like that idea. So, starter friendly. We intelligently match all your email contacts with your current list already. So if you have a list, we're halfway there. We've got their email. Now they just need to come to your website and let us know that that's your email. So that's really one of the best details about this is that the setup can be insanely easy. If you don't have an email list, that's great. Our software helps you build that list through the details that we pull from the visitors on your website, specifically first name, last name, email, and then if you have a form that has other information, it will automatically grab that too. Again, back to the creepy side of it. So everybody's like, man, Lucas, it's too good to be true. I honestly don't have enough research on my own to qualify it as a big deal or a small deal. I think it's insanely cool. Large brands are doing it. I feel it every day. You feel it every day. So how much does this cost? So this is the brilliant part. Outside of creating the email automation, outside of doing the creative work on content writing, copy editing, creation of graphic work and display, normally that's what costs the most, right? Getting the strategy built out. I mean, what's going into the image? I mean, are we displaying the red shoe, or are we displaying a list of our testimonials, our reviews, or whatever it may be? And once you get through the creative aspect of it, once you create the campaign and you launch it, it's incredibly cheap. So the best part is the platform that we're using, you only pay for it if somebody clicks in the email, which is fantastic. So what is that rate? What is that rate? I've seen that they're leveraging a rate for me from $2.50 to $3. And if you've done any PPC in the past, that is relatively higher than average non-competitive markets. But if you start getting into competitive markets, you start seeing 7, 12. And if you're in insurance or an attorney, you're over 15, maybe into the 20s on what you get for clicks. So into this idea, you get free emails into your people who have visited your website that can be catered to whatever their visit was. You get those free emails. Now, if they click, you end up paying for it. So there's no throttle here. I'm sorry. There's not anything stopping it from going too far, other than their internal throttling of, I don't want to spend more than X amount per week. So you set that per week, and we've had some traffic. We've set this up recently. I've actually, I'm going to see if I can try to do this without breaking anything, but I've got an email that was sent to me today from our own email retargeting at Stand and Stretch. So if you visited our website anytime today or tomorrow, you probably are targeted. You got a target on your back. Yeah, I knew if I tried to, I'd have to do it. I'm going to skip over it. The idea is that it's working for us. It's highly technical in how it's doing what it's doing, but I can assure you that I like how this is priced. I love the precision. I love the performance. I love how easy it is to set up. And if you're working with an agency like Stand and Stretch to come up with the creative, the marketing strategy, the idea behind what's going into that campaign, we'd be glad to set it up for you with a one-time fee, and then hook you up to that campaign and let it charge you per click. So we can also include it in any other campaign. So if you have any questions, please let me know about that. And that brings me to the very end of this webinar. So I appreciate everybody sticking around. Looks like I finished up 3 minutes to 1. So if you have any questions, post it in there. And I know I had you for an hour, but I'm glad I finished this in what looks like 39 minutes. If you haven't already, just know that I'm recording this, and I'm going to be playing it back on YouTube for all your friends to share and watch. And you'll notice that we have over 13 other amazing webinars. So go to our YouTube, subscribe, and every time we post something, you're going to get an email. So you won't miss any future webinars if you cannot attend them and be in the live aspect of them. We've got things like Google AdWords. We've got content strategy, which is our biggest one. It's got thousands of views. We've talked about Foursquare. We've talked about mobile site versus mobile app. We've talked about blogging. I mean, how important is blogging? Oh my goodness. So at the end of the day, we want you to know that we appreciate all your time. And if you have any questions, follow up with me. Lucas at standandstretch.com, or just visit our wonderful cool site, standandstretch.com, so I can put a cookie on your computer and follow you around with our digital ads. So thank you guys. I appreciate your time. We'll see you again at the next one. Bye-bye. I'm waving. See you later. Bye-bye.